Thank you very much for joining us today on Jasiri. For decades, young people have been called the leaders of tomorrow. The problem is, for many young Nigerians, tomorrow keeps moving. You are told to get a good education only to discover that a degree may just be the beginning of the struggle. You are told to get a job, but there may be no job waiting. You are told to become an entrepreneur, but nobody tells you where the capital is. And you finally create something for yourself. Someone will now ask you, but when are you getting a real job? Yet, somehow young Nigerians keep moving. We are building businesses, creating careers from technology, leading community projects, and turning ideas into impact, even while navigating rising living costs, unemployment, and economy that keeps demanding more from them. Today, the world marks International Youth Day, a day to celebrate young people and recognize their role in shaping sustainable development. Nigeria has one of the world's largest youth populations. That should be an enormous advantage. But a large youth population is only an advantage when young people have the skills, opportunities, and space to contribute. So what does it really mean to be young and useful in Nigeria today? And how do we move from constantly letting young people, telling young people to prepare for tomorrow, to exactly giving them opportunities to shape their today? We'll get into all this shortly, but first.
We wanted to hear directly from young Nigerians. What does being young in Nigeria feel like right now? So for International Youth Day, we took the conversation to the streets to ask them what worries young Nigerians most about their future. Do they still believe they can be successful? And for those who are thinking about leaving, what exactly are they hoping to find elsewhere? Guess what they had to say? This is Jasiri on the streets.
The hardest thing I feel about being a Nigerian is facing mental health and then figuring out your mental health, because there are a lot of things that are pressuring for Nigerian youth nowadays regarding like family responsibilities, independence, and trying to figure out the next thing that you want to do apart from school. So I feel like mental health is one of the things that Nigerian youth are facing nowadays.
I would say constant fear of what the future holds, and also like insecurity in the country.
I feel like a lot of young Nigerians are like, they have ambitions or like goals, but there's no way to like invest in them. And like when you're pressured with like how are you going to eat, you're forced to like do works that you don't really want to do because you just want to think about your next meal.
There are lack of opportunities to be able to survive in the country, to be able to succeed in the country. Like many youths, they have talents, they have things that they can monetize, but they are not given the opportunity to do so.
Having a skill, a particular skill is now like, is not good enough for someone to survive in Nigeria. You have to put your hand in like multiple skills to, survive the cost of living in Nigeria.
The whole level of like insecurities of everything that's going on in the country is very disheartening, and it's scary for like a youth to just wake up and go outside and then wondering whether you make it back home that same day, wondering whether or not you'll be picked up on the road maybe by one chance or kidnappers or somebody.
The opportunities are there, but there's a lot more competition. Like the population in Nigeria is a lot, and there's a lot of people competing for a particular post.
I feel like there are plenty of ways to make money, but like it's something that can last you, like actually build your life. If you used to make like quick 10K, I feel like there are plenty of opportunities now. I'm sure with like the internet. So there are like plenty of work or jobs that someone can just do now to get something that is small. But when you think about money to actually like build a life or build your future, I don't think so.
I mean, you don't have to leave the country to find better opportunities. There are better opportunities everywhere. It's just for you to figure out what it is that you're good at and then find a way in which you can monetize it and then make a living out of it.
I don't think I do have a future in Nigeria, and I'm not thinking about the country. I want to escape. Like I really cannot. I don't think there is any like anything that will be useful to me in this country, like opportunities. I don't think there is any.
If I can get enough skill, I can monetize that skill, because I feel like I can do very well in that. So I don't feel like it's necessary for me to go abroad to look for better opportunities or greener grass.
As a young Nigerian, you always seek look forward to things that are better, you know. So if you are an ambitious person, definitely you think of leaving the country.
So the government, they need to stop being selfish, and they have to understand that they are in power because they're supposed to lead and serve. It's not for you to like, for your selfish, needs and whatnot.
Invest in like young Nigerians' future. Like create, let's say campaigns or like structures, create more opportunities.
So I listen to everything and I see them complain, the young ones.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, but then I understand, the country is like, or the leaders are actually doing a disservice, to us and the young generation. But if you look at it, the younger generation actually has they have a lot more opportunities than we had, right? Back then, we grew up with the idea of, okay, once we're done with school, work. When you work, you'll be able to buy a car, buy a house, start a family, and all that. A lot of us have not achieved that. And we're finding it difficult to even go back and do all the things that the Gen Zs can actually do, because when it comes to AI or, technology, yes, even though you cannot compare. You understand? We probably don't have the, what do you call it? The acumen to understand it the way the younger generation can. So they have so many opportunities.
I think, honestly, I would have to, I told you the same line, because I believe that they do have much opportunities than we do. When I look at them, I remember when I was even writing my project. Do you know how many weeks I stayed in the library trying to get access to some material that you're going to use to write? But now
you have AI.
When my daughter was writing, she told me that, oh, mommy, we have to pay for something that they'll use to verify that you didn't use AI to write your project. Yeah. I'm like, okay. We did back-breaking work. But now a lot of them can make money in this generation quite easily. More easily than we ever could. And I believe that the young people should continue to leverage on their times, because things are better for them anyway. But I don't think they should put their hope in the leaders that are here now, because those are the ones that are telling them that they are still the leaders of tomorrow.
I don't even want to go there. I don't want to go to the leaders, because we cannot separate that. We cannot separate them from us. They were part of us first before they climbed the podium of where they are.
No, they were before us, and then they were part of us, and now they are above us.
They are a reflection of who we are in Nigeria. So I don't want to go there. I was going to ask you, would you fancy yourself? I mean, you're South African. Do you see yourself? Would you willingly leave South Africa to go somewhere else to live?
I mean, I'm here.
No, apart from here.
Yeah, you're working.
You're here for work, but...
I mean, I think it's...
For greener pastures, so to say.
Strokes for different folks. When it comes to youth, I agree with Darshan in certain instances, but then there are others where not necessarily in agreement, but I do understand the point. I think the youth is a bit more... Yes, the opportunities are more vast for the youth because they are more entrepreneurial. We didn't necessarily, at a point, have that, because to a certain degree, some of the systems and the structures were, in quotes, working a little bit. So getting a job and all of these things was easier. But I think because the youth that we call the youth were mothered by parents like us, that teach them, get your qualification, and then go get a job.
Yes.
Again, like we said, our parents, I remember when I moved here, my mom was like, what are you going to go into there? Like, okay, you say you've got a business. Up until the business gets to where it needs to get to, they don't really recognize that. Yes, they do have vaster opportunities, but the reason why the opportunities are there is because of many of the failures that you find in a country.
Yeah, well, every country has its failures.
I agree. But that's why if you look at the entrepreneurial statistic, the majority of entrepreneurs, even in the world, are from Africa.
So what does that tell us? Because I'm coming to all this talk of you are looking for greener pastures, and it's not necessarily better out there. There's pros and cons. What gives here may not be what gives there. You might be running away from the chaotic system or lack of it thereof, but there are systems, and you may find yourself at some point being choked by the system. So it's a give and take. And I don't feel the jagba or the moving out of your country is for everybody.
No.
Just pick your struggle, not because Emeka is going. Chinenye, you feel that you must go because
What works
Emeka
for
has
you
gone.
might not work for
I
you.
know what, even it's not even
Because you have so many of them who told that path, and they are living under bridges outside the
outside the
streets,
country.
you know, outside the country.
You know, there's a lot of, you know, a lot of people just take information in bits and pieces because people tell you that, oh, it's better here. It's just an assumption in their head. It's just like when I traveled for the first time and I saw potholes in London. I was like,
oh, they have potholes. Well, you don't know. Are you serious?
I never expect, no, but you know, because of the mental picture that I picked, I thought that when I see all the trees, I will see money hanging over. No!
What about the homeless people in the U.S.?
Immigrants
and then Paris, the Eiffel Tower, where you have so many homeless
than those
people.
that even own their country.
I say to you that, and that is where we really need to have these conversations, because I remember the first culture shock I had in the U.S. You would see someone holding an iPhone, and automatically, you know, in Africa,
Yes,
you see someone with an iPhone, you're like, life must be good.
Yeah.
I would see someone in the U.S. holding an iPhone like 17, and then they'll tell you, I work 5 jobs. I'm like, and you're holding an iPhone? Clearly, our train of thought does not align.
And the funny thing is, the way we think here, oh, the system is not working for us, we have to go somewhere else to get greener pastures. It's the same way every other person or most people in other countries think. You know, for example, see what happened, you know, in Morocco, where they ran to Ceuta, you know, via boat and all that. And you have so many Moroccans, basically they call them, online, being proud about their country, saying no, they can never leave Morocco for anybody. Everything is working, but you have them crying, saying, please don't take me back. So is the system working for them, or system working for some and not others?
I tell you, even in SA, when we look at the statistics of, let's not even go to that conversation, but when you look at the international, like the number of Americans that are relocating to South Africa, it's crazy. And you would ask yourself, but where's the disconnect? Because all of us are...
They're coming back to Africa
all
as
of us
well.
are in VFS.
Yes.
Looking for a visa because we want to go. And then they're
coming back to Africa.
But anyway,
coming back to Ghana, Nigeria, and all that. So
we do take a quick break, but when we return, we take the conversation beyond the usual young people are the leaders of tomorrow's speech. Because if tomorrow is always the destination, who is giving young Nigerians meaningful roles today? We ask what it takes to turn youth potential into real economic value, leadership, as well as impact. We'll be joined by Emmanuel Agida, good governance and youth development advocate, entrepreneur and founder of Emmanuel Agida International, to examine what it really takes to turn Nigeria's huge youth population into an economic and social advantage. Stay with us. It comes after the break.
welcome back to Jasiri. Now, it is International Youth Day, and this morning we're putting the motivational posters aside and having a more uncomfortable conversation about young Nigerians. Our guest this morning believes that development doesn't happen by chance. It is engineered through purposeful leadership, responsible citizenship, and young people who are willing to create value where they are. Emmanuel Agida is a good governance and youth development advocate, entrepreneur, and founder of Emmanuel Agida International. Through leadership development, governance advocacy, and youth empowerment initiatives, he has inspired thousands of young Africans to become solution providers rather than spectators. Now, his philosophy is simple but powerful, that a nation's greatest resource is not its natural wealth, but the quality of its people. Emmanuel Agida, welcome to Jasiri. It's good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's nice being in your midst. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. All right, we'll just jump right into it, Emmanuel. We know that today is a very significant day for all the youths across the world. It's International Youth Day. So let's start, with the Nigerian youth as they are. Let's look at it. When you look at the Nigerian youth of today, what would you say gives you hope? And what concerns you the most?
Thank you so much for such a great question. A pleasure to be here once again. When I see the Nigerian youth, I see resilience. I see a bright future for our nation and our continent. Of course, we know that the African continent currently has the largest population of young people in the entire world. About 60% of the world's youthful population are resided here in Africa. that poses a great potential for us. And by 2030, Africa would, boast the largest workforce in the entire world. And young people will be spearheading that development, that phase of the continent. So for me, I see the future of the world being redefined by young Nigerians. I see grit, I see energy, and I see the passion to pursue and to become the best versions of themselves. But then we also have challenges. Every time you have the positive, there's likely to be the negative sides of things. My concern is, the rising social construct, negative social construct that has, plagued the young people. We've seen young people's focus change over time. We're no longer pursuing, some young people are no longer pursuing value, but are just chasing clouds. They're no longer pursuing positive influence, but are just craving for attention. So these are things we need to address. What kind of mindset does every young emerging leader needs to have to become progressive? Every leader is a function of the kind of mindset and thought that he or she possesses, the way they think, the way they react to issues. So as young people, we must now begin to place emphasis on our thought process, on our dispositions towards matter, the way we present ourselves in different cases, in matters and all of that. So that's my major concern for the African youth. But to cap it all, we are wonderful, we are amazing people, we are talented, we have the grit, we have the wisdom, we have the smartness to really go far and do better.
So Emmanuel, when we look at this holistically and of course realistically, the United Nations is urging young people to take action within their local communities. In practical terms, as plain and as simple as it can be, what does local action look like for the average young Nigerian?
So local action means providing solution to problems within your immediate community. We have problems across board, from poverty to education. How can young people now look at the SDGs and now begin to provide solutions in their immediate environment? That's something we have always done with our platforms. We also look at the most advanced nations in the world. We see how they engage their young people. They have programs, they have fellowships, they have platforms where young people come together, discuss about the future. So for me, taking action is identifying an area that needs a problem that needs to be solved, and taking actionable steps towards solving those problems. Is it in climate change? We have seen how the weather outburst has really caused and flood and all of that. Is it in poverty? How can we reduce poverty? Are we talking about food security? Are we talking about agricultural development? So young people must now begin to identify key areas where we currently lack sufficient solutions and provide those solutions to them. Likewise, we should also look at the opportunities that we have in Africa. As it stands, Africa has 60% of the world's arable land currently in Africa. Yeah. So it means there are more potentials for farming, there are more potentials for real estate. So young people must now begin to look inward, not just the challenges, look at the potentials in Nigeria and in Africa, now begin to harness those potentials for growth.
Would you then say that they are doing that? Because, you find an instance, you mentioned food scarcity and unemployment, but the First Lady said people should just make akara, because she identified the problem, but the solution wasn't necessarily a holistic solution that satisfied the average young Nigerian. So would you say all these points that you have mentioned, are they cultivating and taking advantage of that?
Well, if I would I'll pick from the angle of the First Lady. I think every person has his or her own respective views. And for me, I personally do not align with that perspective. But in my own way, I'll speak, from my own lens as a young person. Today we'll be having a summit where we'll be bringing young persons together, and I've been doing this for half a decade, bringing young persons together across universities, and bringing them together at Oriental Hotels. There is so much prestige. Yeah. Fortunately, she'll be one of the speakers. We're having speakers from, America, Italy, all coming to join us today for that conversation. So for me, I've contributed my quota. I also have many other young persons within my cycle that we are also trying to carry along in this whole process and in this entire journey, to say truly we can identify a problem, start discussing about those problems, and then work towards the solution. Because discussions without actions don't really translate into results. So we have to discuss about those ideas, then come up with case studies, research analysis. How can we now better provide these solutions to solve the problems in our immediate communities and our country? So for me, I believe Nigerians are doing awesomely well. Like I said, when you have the good, you always have the bad. But in my own opinion, we have Nigerians who truly, if they are guided, if they are given the right mindset, if they are not just taught that quick money is the best way to advance in life, and the social construct also matters. Their environment, what they see, if they see people with flashy cars, and all of that, that's the immediate environment where they grow up in. But when we begin to change their mindset, you orientate them that, this can bring you quick money. But money does not equate sustainable value. But
let me now ask you, because many young people believe unemployment is the alpha and the omega of all their problems, and I don't know whether it's something you agree with. Do you think that is the case, that unemployment is what young people don't have jobs? And if you don't believe, do you think there are deeper issues beyond that?
Well, I think I agree, because statistics says the same thing, that we have a large rate of unemployment in the country. We have a lot of young people with great potentials, academic potentials, skills, who are not making good use of it. But I have worked with this philosophy over time. If the opportunities don't come, find a way to create them. I would have also sat down and assumed that there are no opportunities, so then there's nothing to do. But I believe we can create those opportunities. If you're not given a seat at the table, bring your seat, create that seat, create the table, and have those conversations that can shape your future. So while we are aware of the challenges of unemployment, I believe that there are still potentials if you can sit down, look deep into our innate abilities, our innate potentials, look deep into our environment. So like I've said earlier, solutions that we can provide, it will make the world a better place. And why I've also said is, I also want to call the government. It's a dual effort, both the private and the public sector. Let's also try to create jobs for a lot of young people so that they can be, positively engaged. Let's create more skills platform, talent platform. Let's have more fellowships where we can engage these young persons. Then if I would now speak on the deeper issues, I also believe that from analysis and statistics, we've also seen that there's been a decline in young people's ability to want to engage in skill. Like I still said earlier, still the idea of the social construct. People want to get rich faster. They want to really...
So they don't want to put in the work.
They don't want to put in the work. They just want to be on the spotlight. They want the fame without... And you can be famous and you have nothing upstairs. We've had issues with the Olodo uprising, where you see a lot of people with massive followings and they lack character. They lack depth, in-depth, and depthness and all of that. So these are things we should also address. Character, should address the social construct, should address the mindset shift, and many of these things would really gel us towards progress.
Now, I know you did say that the youth should also create opportunities for themselves, but there is a growing belief that the traditional 9-to-5, even though you did say that a lot of them are no longer interested in acquiring skills, but there's also a growing belief that that traditional 9-to-5 career path is no longer a route to success, right? And a lot of young people, still grew up believing that that is the only path to success. So has our definition of success changed?
Well, for me, I think success is, in context, personalized. What is success to me may not be success to, but in the general sense, I believe that young people should not just, put their heads into one basket. They should get skills. The world is advancing. You look at the top 10 richest persons in the world, but 7 of them are into technology and AI. They are not just people who are in the 9-to-5 economy. They're people who are creating solutions, creating jobs for other people. So we should start looking at skill set, the remote work economy, the tech economy, the AI, robotics, and all of these are massive potentials that young people can now begin to look into. And I would also say that, education, of course, because people believe when they leave school, they get a white-collar job, do the 9-to-5, and then they're tagged successful. You don't really need an academic degree. While it is a plus, you don't need that to be successful. And I've seen case scenarios. Your intellectual capacity, your ability to manage situations, your ability to think deeply, really is not tied to academic success. It's just this normal life skill set that every young person should develop. You know, I became a youngest political appointee in Nigeria when I was just leaving secondary school. So for me, I don't think you should get into the university first before you start discovering your purpose, before you start engaging in positive things or start utilizing your time. You can do that anywhere, anytime as a young person. You just need to think deeply, find a path that you want to be in, and then start developing from there.
I know, thank you very much for your submissions. You often speak about leadership, at least I know that about you, and nation building. You believe in Nigeria so much. Do you think Nigerian youths are being prepared to be leaders or simply employees? Because we have to just say this to them, because today is International Youth Day. We need to address something that affects them directly. Are they being trained to become leaders? Because I can give you myriads of examples of young people who have been given political appointments and they came back a massive disappointment.
Okay, so let me jump on Lolo's question as well, because you said you'd served in political office. So how had that changed your view, or how did that amplify your view of leadership and skills and service as well? Okay. So in addition to Lolo's question.
Thank you so much. That's a very beautiful question. I would pick from the angle where you said that are young people really prepared to be leaders or employees? For me, social system as a way of caging young people to breed the survival mindset. What they just want is their next meal. They're not even thinking long term, because a society that is plagued with unemployment, the only thing that most people would think of is how to survive the next day, not even the long term, how to get the next meal on the table. So I tell young Nigerians, don't have the survival mindset. If the only aim is work, get money, and just feed yourself and do the basic things, it's not sustainable. You realize years go by, you're just working, getting money, and then at the end of the day, not sustainable. We also look at it, how much are Nigerians earning? What's the minimum wage? At the end of the day, it's not sustainable. So if you're working to be an employee or you're working to survive, it's not in any way going to help young people. So based on the social system that we currently operate in, or based on the circumstances, I do not think that Nigerians are being prepared to be leaders, except Nigerians or the young Nigerian intentionally takes the step to reform his own mindset and says that I will not be defined by the system. I will not just be seeking, just be on the lookout for survival. I can create long-term solutions. I will not just be in a company because of what I want to get from that company. I genuinely want to contribute to the growth of the company. I'm really a part of that company because of what the problems they are trying to solve, not because at the end of the month I'm getting salary and living. So we must have a social construct. Then moving to
your experience,
your question, yes. Politics is
not for the faint-hearted.
Yes, I'll pick that word. There has been a stereotype that politics is a bad game. I really do not believe politics or governance is really a bad game. We only have good or bad politicians. You choose either of the sides you want to be in. It's very challenging. You have a lot of temptations, you have a lot of pressure because money is going on here and there. Government office is a position where people get to handle the resources of the nation, financial resources of the nation. It's more of a fiscal responsibility for the leader. So it's tempting for anybody, both the Nigerian and both the president and the citizen. Anyone can be under such temptation. But for me, I think what has really helped me and shaped my mindset is the intentionality to be different and to be an outstanding leader. I cannot be like the leaders I criticize. If I want to make the change, I have to be the change. I've studied the system and I've noticed the pattern. We have had leaders who, over time, have embezzled our money, who have neglected the will of the people in pursuit of personal interest and personal gains. And I said, if somebody has to change the problem, the person has to do it differently and has to think differently. So that was my mindset, even when I was opportune to serve in even such a little capacity. that when I was about leaving political office, many of the gadgets that were bought with the ministry finance, I backed everything, put them in a letter and emailed every property of the ministry. And it's not common of Nigerians because I believe that now is what defines the future.
The future.
What I do now is what people will probably in the
Remember
future remember me by. So no matter how little the position I served, I was intentional about building a different character and being different from the current set of leaders. Because if we really want the change in Nigeria,
all right, Emmanuel,
we have to do things differently.
Yeah. So let's quickly go on a quick break. We'll be back with this conversation shortly. Stay with us.
Welcome back. This morning, we're marking International Youth Day by examining the opportunities and the challenges facing Nigerians. And so far, we've discussed leadership, purpose, and the changing definition of success. But beyond inspiration, young people also need practical direction. In today's economy, many graduates are discovering that certificates alone are no longer enough. Employers are demanding skills, and technology is creating an entirely new career opportunity. So, Emmanuel, let me ask you, how should young people, how should they prepare for the future? There's AI, there's Grok, there's Claude, there's the different... How should they prepare for the future, looking at all of these things?
Thank you very much. That's a very important question. I think that information is power. If you do not know, you cannot execute. Young people should start getting information. They should start feeding the knowledge with facts and researches that can help grow their mindset and help add value to their talent. So for me, I believe that every young person should identify these trends from AI to of course, the tech is still AI to robotics to the remote economy and other aspects. They should identify and pick a source. How can I effectively use these tools to probably earn money or make life more better or sustainable for me? And when they start having conversations or thought like that, it's easier at least to start somewhere. Now, I know there are a lot of challenges. We have challenges with maybe access to internet, there are financial challenges, and I think it's one area I want to speak from because when we come on air like this and we wear suit and speak, people assume that we have it all figured out. But really, with a lot of challenges and a lot of pressure that comes with being successful, it takes so much to really want to be on the spotlight or to really want to achieve great things or do great stuffs. So I will also want to advise every young person to be resilient in their pursuit to greatness. It's going to take so much. It's going to take a lot of sacrifices, a lot of patience, a lot of determination, a lot of commitment. When I started off as doing podcast online, I think that was how I met Lolo. I started with a very bad phone. I really didn't have it all figured out. Whenever I was online, the phones will always go off, but I was resilient. So you will always not have it figured out from the beginning. Yeah. But the best thing is to start. You take a step, find a way. Start with where you are. If it's the little thing you have, do something with it. There's really nobody that has nothing. There's something in you that can be explored if you really think inwards and think deeply. Yeah. So these are my advices to young Nigerians. Then they should also have a total belief in themselves. You cannot really go far if you do not believe so much in yourself because there will be discouragement along the way. There are times when it look like you're not making progress. Times when it look like everything you're doing is not just making sense. Okay. We just have to keep going. We just have to keep encouraging yourself, like I would always say. And with all of this.
If I can, I'm so sorry to just butt in. I'm listening to some of the points that you're saying, and this also just, buttresses the next question that I have for you. When we look at, before the break, we spoke about how certain influencers have become the role models of the average young Nigerian. I'm curious to find out for you, when we look at the skill sets of the youth of Nigeria, what are 5 skills that you believe a young Nigerian should develop right now? Not necessarily progressing, but we know that perfection needs progress. But what are the skills that you would say, 5 of them, that the average Nigerian youth needs to remain economically relevant in today's society?
Well, I'll go with, I think the very important skills that every young Nigerian should develop first is the listening skill, the ability to listen. People have gone ahead from you, the ability to listen to other people one of the major challenges we have today, even in Nigeria, is because our leaders really do not listen to the citizens. So the ability to listen, the ability to learn faster, it's also one skill that, every young person should learn. Then the ability to really want to comprehend fact faster. There are a lot of trends happening today. The ability to really identify which one is what's the current trend, or which one is really going to give you the long-term impact is also one skill. I call it the adaptability skill, to know what is important at the moment, how to get into that space, and what to do with whatever knowledge you get from that space. So that's really something that every young Nigerian should get. I also think that every young Nigerian should develop their speaking skills. Communication is very, very key. If you are unable to communicate your ideas, it's as good as having nothing. So the ability to communicate, I've said listening is also communication, then the ability to also speak, express these ideas in a constructive words or in views that will really resonate with other people. That's also one ability that every young Nigerian should have. And I think the fifth one I would say is the ability to really
be intimate with AI and Grok and etc.
Okay,
Technology.
Well, if you're going that route, if you want me to probably mention skill set, then we can do that. But I think these are life skills that young people should have.
Life skills.
And I think that the ability to overcome challenges is one skill that young people, I see it as a skill.
Yeah.
But if we're not talking about maybe trends in the employment or the work economy, I think young person should focus on the remote economy. There's a lot of massive influence. We saw what happened during the COVID-19 era. People were stranded and were forced to start working from home. And truly, we saw the potentials in the remote economy. So we should look deeply into the remote economy.
That last skill is actually the most important, if you ask me. That's the ability to overcome challenges, because you have so many young people who are suicidal. Any little thing, any little disappointment.
My mental health.
Very, very important. But then let's talk about social media, which has also completely changed how young people define success. Today, you see someone displaying a car. Tomorrow, you see someone starting a business or launching a company. Another person traveling every month. Are young Nigerians under pressure to look successful before they actually become successful?
I think they are. I see social media as a tool that has really, really caused a lot of competition among young people. People just try to want to be like people they see online without even knowing their source of income. As a PR consultant, I've really, really dig deep into people's profile. The lady you said traveling across board with a company, they tell you they run interior company. Many of them do not really handle those companies. Many of them are really, really side chick to some politicians. Somehow. That's just the truth. I've seen that.
The table.
Many of them, many of them front companies online, register business coming down from their Prado Jeep. They really do not do those things. So you do not be deceived. Your journey is different. By the lifestyle on social media. You just hear one day that somebody is operating a company and all of a sudden the EFCC is looking for the person now with no traces of the wealth and all of that. So that's the reality in Nigeria. So I want to tell every young person,
even for the guys, don't leave the guys out, because the guys, most of them, they engage in one vice or the other to make the money and all this.
I was going to come into that too. We've seen the what?
The fraudsters, ritualists.
You ask a young person now, what do you want to do? What do you want to become? I want to become a Yahoo boy. Influence or value has now shifted from depth to material things.
That's right.
People no longer see value as, what positivity can I add? The moment you have money, you have cards, society celebrates you. Yeah. In fact, if you probably are coming in with a Prado Jeep, the way you be celebrated at the gate will be different, or maybe by the gatesman will be different from when you are in a Corolla car. So we now really place so much value on material things. We no longer look at substance. We no longer look at ideology. Once people have money, we just troop towards them. And you really see that these guys with money, many of them don't really have sense. And they are not that smart. And money does not equate wisdom. You can be a foolish other person. So young people should now start, beyond just the clout and the ability to make money, all of this trend, money in our water, all of these things. We should start looking at value. And you see, when many young people also one of the reasons why many young people also want to have this money is to impress other people, is to show off on social media, because that's what they've really seen. Somebody spraying money in parties and all of that. So we need to change our social construct, and I think there need to be a social media regulation if possible.
I am an advocate.
There needs to be a social media. You go to China, what the Chinese or the youth in China view in its TikTok is different from what they view in Nigeria or anywhere else. At some point, the United States President Donald Trump really wanted to ban, he even at some point banned TikTok, because he said what they project to their citizens, they are productive things, you know, things on manufacturing, on construction. But when you come here, the algorithm is feeding young people with just clouds. You just want to be on the net.
Okay, so pin it there. Let me before we let you go, because time is running past us. It's running faster than its shadow. If you could change one thing about the way Nigeria prepares the youth, young people, for adulthood and leadership, what would it be? If you had one to change one thing.
I think I would change the mindset of many young people. The mindset is everything. You cannot dissociate the action of a person from his thinking faculty. We are a product of our thoughts. In fact, before anything becomes an action, it must have been, you know, a thinking first before it translates. So for me, I believe we need to start reorientating a lot of Nigerians. There needs to be a mindset shift on a lot of things. Our view on wealth, our view on impact, our view on influence, our view about many other issues.
So mindset is everything.
Yes, mindset changes everything for me.
Okay. Dash?
All right, now finally, let's bring this home, you know. So we've wrapped up, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for, you know, joining us and also speaking on this. This is actually what we needed to hear. And for most of us here on the table who actually have young people, you know, who are raising young children, this is a very, very important, you know, conversation that they need to go back to watch and listen as well.
Thank you
so much. So thank you so much, Emmanuel Agida,
you know,
good governance and youth development advocate, for sharing your insights with us on the International Youth Day today. Happy International Youth Day, because we have a lot of 70-year-old youths in Nigeria. We have lots of 70-year-olds
that are youth.
That are youths in Nigeria.
Is your president not still a youth?
All right, now, today's conversation reminds us that the future isn't something we simply wait for. It is something we build through our choices, our skills, and our willingness to serve others. Whether through entrepreneurship, innovation, public service, or community action, every young Nigerian has the capacity to become a solution to the challenges around them. As we commemorate International Youth Day, perhaps the greatest challenge before us is not asking what the country can do for its youth, but what young people can begin doing today to shape the Nigeria they want to see. So that's our show for today. Thank you so much for watching Jasiri. Keep the conversation going on all our social media platforms, and we will see you next time, which is tomorrow.
Yes.
Tomorrow. It's not Hot Topic.
No, it's
not Friday
Thursday.
yet.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.